Hey guys, Magic Man here, and today I've got another game for you in the Tier 4 Arkansas Beta, and it is a premium American battleship, and I am stuck in a Tier 5 game, and there are carriers. Unfortunately, since Arkansas Beta has no anti-aircraft guns whatsoever, aircraft carriers are definitely its Achilles heel. So we're going to try and get moving down here to the A point. All the other battleships spawned a little bit farther north than me, and from what I could tell, it looked like all three of them were going to head to the C point. It's typically what happens. There's nothing you can do about it. It usually seems all the way up until almost Tier 8. Most of the teams that you get on just kind of lemming train all down to one cap point, and nobody really tries to contest anything else. So I'm actually going to go ahead and head to A. I'm going to try and support all these cruisers down here and do my best to disrupt any capping that's going on. So I do have quite a bit of support in the 3 cruisers and the 2 destroyers. And with the short range of this ship, I do have the range module added onto this thing, so I get 2 kilometers extra worth of range, I think it is. So I can reach out and shoot all the way up to 14 kilometers, which is about on par with my detectability, which is 13.6. So I'm going to start angling the ship towards A. So that's where I'm expecting most of the people I'm going to be shooting at are going to be. And that's when I spot one of these new, I think this is the Tier 5 British cruiser, I'm not sure yet. And he's actually slowing down to deploy his smoke screen. Fortunately for him, I had my eye set on him. And we get 2 citadels there, which sucks to be him, and those other 2 shots miss. So we do 16,000 points of damage to that Emerald while slowing down to get into a smoke. And I'm going to take a shot at this Karlsruhe. And we get 1 penetration for 2,000 damage. Now, the unique thing about the Arkansas Beta as compared to its sister ship, the Wyoming, is that instead of having 14-inch guns, this thing actually has 12-inch guns. So it's got a smaller caliber, which is bad for battleships, but you know, it still does a pretty good job on cruisers. And as you saw there, 1 citadel from these shells to do about 8,300 points of damage, which isn't bad. And I'm trying to do my best to hit this Karlsruhe. It's just I was having a hard time telling which direction he was actually moving in. So I don't really do too much damage to him. And here we've got another British cruiser, and suddenly I'm getting pelted with HE, which kind of sucks. I'd rather not. And this guy's turning out. Gonna elevate the guns a little bit, shorten the distance the shells are gonna have to travel, and I felt like I had taken enough damage from those fires where my repair could kick in. And that is a Kamikaze R. That's a very dangerous Tier 5 Japanese destroyer. And that's when I spot this Emerald that I landed 2 citadels on earlier. I'm gonna see what I can do to take him out, and unfortunately for me, two of our cruisers and one of our destroyers that came down here with me, unfortunately they rushed into the A point and they all died. So I'm going to take a shot at this Kaiser because it's really the only thing I can shoot at this particular moment. Do about 6,700 points of damage to him, which isn't bad, especially for these 12-inch guns. I usually never expect to get citadels on battleships at this particular tier in this thing. I just want to do some good armor piercing damage to him. And that's when the emerald pops back up, and I'm hoping he gets spotted again, but I'm not gonna count on it. So at this point, the game plan is to get the heck out of Dodge, and this guy, it looked like he was becoming stationary. Couldn't quite tell, but since there's a smoke screen in there, I'm going to assume that he had been moving and slowed down to a stop. That's when this kamikaze R comes back out in front of me, and I'm actually going to take this opportunity to get some damage in on him if I can. Getting shot at by that emerald in the smoke screen back there. I'm sure he'd probably like to put some damage in on me. And
enemy heavily damaged.
Get a couple of shots there to land on him. Do a little bit of damage. Nothing to write home about. And there's the, I think it was tier 4 British cruiser, the Diana. Maybe it's just the Diane. And I'm going to take a shot at him, see if I can get him out of the match. And a citadel and a penetrating shot ought to do it. And oh, we actually get 2 citadels and an over-penetration. Get a devastating strike award and take that guy out of the game. And that's just how squishy the new British cruisers are. Although, I suppose any cruiser shown a broadside will probably get punished like that. But especially the British cruisers, because their citadel is just so large and up out of the water. So we're going to take a shot at this emerald, see if we can get rid of this guy. And those shots are looking pretty good. But get 2 over penetrations, no citadel shot. That's unfortunate. I was trying to take him out before he gets too close to this Hosho. But that carrier's in a bad spot to begin with, so I don't think he's long for this world. He should have already turned around and started moving up to the sea point. So we're going to try and take a shot here. Now I see that Omaha in the background there. I was going to shoot at the Congo, but I probably wouldn't have done much damage since it's so angled. And being at a battleship, I know I can citadel a cruiser through the nose, should I so choose to. So I take a shot at the Omaha, and I get 2 penetrations and a citadel. It was a pretty well-aimed shot. And I probably should have taken another shot at that guy, but this Congo was just kind of basically charging right at me, so I was going to change my target to him, because he's the biggest threat, and that's when I noticed he does not have his guns facing my way, so I'm going to take this opportunity to put a bunch of damage into him. I'm actually going to start showing a little bit of my side to him, just so I can get all of my guns on target. And so far I've been doing some pretty good damage to him. I'm going to kind of extend my lead a little bit there. Once you get beyond 8 kilometers in the Arkansas beta, the shells really start to get a pretty good arc to them, so that's kind of like the threshold for those shells. And fortunately for me, this Congo is going to start angling in towards me, so I'm going to have to turn my ship and get a pretty good penetration into his superstructure. And that shell just bounces off of us harmlessly. Hit the belt armor, and those look like they were going to do the same, but he does get a penetration. Does a little bit of damage to us, but we definitely return the favor. So he is actually going to turn around and sail away from us. So I need to find a new target, and that's when I get hit and set on fire by this Omaha. So I figure this guy is going to be my new target. And the dispersion, whew, that's rough. Let me tell you, in these battleships at these lower tiers, when a cruiser goes bow onto you, you are not going to be doing that much damage unless you get lucky, because the dispersion of these guns, whew, you're going to be missing a lot of shots. And that's when I decided to use my repair. Try and get some of my health back. I don't want to lose too much of it to the fire, and I'm going to let it continue to burn as I get every little bit of that fire damage back pretty much. Almost back up to the health that I was at when he started shooting at me and caught me on fire, so don't feel like I'm in too bad of a position right now. I'm going to take a shot at those Kaiser with my gun that's kind of in the middle of all those back ones, since I don't want to be wasting any time. I could be shooting at something with my guns. And this Omaha is becoming a major pest for me. Fortunately, I'm just not getting the penetrating shots or the citadels that I need to take this guy out. I probably could have got him on that last shot, but... And there you go again. That's probably going to bracket him. I just can't get my shells to go where I want them to go, so I'm not getting the damage. I feel like I'm aiming pretty well. It's just the dispersion of these guns is really, it's really kind of screwing me.
The ship is on fire.
And there we get a penetration right there. Now, luckily for me, if any one of these 3 battleships had been looking at me at this point, this game probably would have been over for me right here. But luckily for me, none of them were paying attention to me. And this Omaha was making it very hard to hit him, and I think I may have elevated the guns there just a little bit too much. Didn't quite lead him enough, but he's turning out just a little bit more. And luckily I'm not taking too much damage here. It seems like every time somebody runs into the map border, they become a very hard target to hit. And another over-penetration. I just wish this guy would die. And I think this may be the shot right here, and there it is. And that dude actually did a pretty good job of trying to avoid most of the damage that I was throwing at him. He stayed at a longer range, where the dispersion of these guns really makes it hard to hit your target. And that's when we get a penetration, and we get high caliber and the Confederate award. So I've done quite a bit of damage to a lot of ships, and I've actually done 107,000 damage so far. And I guess that's what happens when your opponents decide to ignore you. I guess I felt like they had more important targets to shoot at, or easier targets to hit than I was. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to start basically raking in free damage. And as you can see, even at 9 kilometers, the dispersion on these shells, and wow, those were so far apart. I think both of those are going to miss. No, one of them actually hits a funnel. So I really kind of need to get in closer, and I'm not doing it because the game is almost over. Because up close, the German battleships have all the advantages. They do have turtleback armor, so it's very rare that you can penetrate their citadel at close range, whereas they're going to have an easy time getting your citadel. So I'd say this is a pretty good range, especially since the game is almost over. Once this guy goes down, and there was actually some very good dispersion right there. 830 damage, and that's going to be the game. Alright, so moving on to the results here. We actually did 112,000 damage, and we got a whole clutch of medals: Fireproof, Confederate, Devastating Strike, and I think that's High Caliber. And ended up getting 2,900 experience. We ended up 1,633 base experience with 3 kills. We're at the top of the team there. I'm not surprised. I did quite a bit of damage, and kind of held that flank. Well, I didn't really hold it. I retreated and tried to do some damage, but unsurprisingly, all of our damage came from the armor piercing, and we actually tanked 41,000 damage, which is quite a bit. And then did about 20 to 18,000 damage on 5 different ships, so that was pretty good, spreading the damage around there. And end up coming out of this game with 225,000 credits, which at tier 4 is pretty good. But anyways, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.